Are you looking for the best external hard drives? In this video we will look at some of the 9 best hard drives on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. Western Digital Elements Desktop Hard Drive. For incremental backups, which we recommend, speed isn't a huge factor. That's why the first drive I recommend is this Western Digital Elements hard drive. I have been using a variation of the Elements desktop hard drive to make incremental backups of my data for more than a decade. These drives are big and require external power, but they're some of the cheapest, most reliable drives I've used. Transfer speeds are not off the charts. The Elements drive I tested scored 120 megabytes per second, MB/s, for sequential writes on Windows, but again, you should ideally be running backups overnight anyway, and even at these speeds the average PC backup will be done by morning. These drives use USB-C with support for USB 3, and I've had no problem using them with Windows, macOS, and Linux. Storage options go all the way up to 20 terabytes. Just check the prices. Sometimes you can get a 10 or even 12 terabytes drive for not much more than the 8 terabyte version. And I have not seen a huge difference between the Elements line, the WD My Book drives, or the WD My Passport drives. The My Passport drives command a premium price because they're smaller, and the My Book drives have some encryption features that drive up the price, but I find the basic Elements drive is sufficient for most people. At number 2. Western Digital My Passport Ultra. If you travel a lot, you'll want something that's easier to carry than the Elements drives, which aren't the best in a suitcase. For backups when traveling, I love Western Digital's My Passport series, especially the new Ultra version, which uses a standard USB-C cord, eliminating the need to carry a separate cable. It's not the thinnest drive on the market, but it's less than an inch thick and solid enough that I never worried about tossing it in my bag. Although it should be said that this is a spinning drive, so don't literally toss it. I also like that the corners are nicely rounded and there are no screws or anything else that will catch on fabric in your bag. There are a variety of colors available and you can get from 1 terabyte to 6 terabytes. I tested the 5 terabytes model, but Western Digital claims the same speeds regardless of drive size. I tested it using Crystal Diskmark on Windows, Amorphous Diskmark on macOS, and K-Diskmark on Linux and averaged the results to come up with 121 megabytes per second for read speed and 115 megabytes per second write speed. It's not what you'd want to copy photos quickly for a client in the field, but fast enough to run a daily backup in your hotel room. At number 3. Corsair EX400U SSD. If you don't yet have any devices with Thunderbolt 5 support, this Thunderbolt 4 drive would be my recommendation for anyone obsessed with speed. Corsair's EX400U is an impressive little drive, consistently delivering speeds of around 3,800 megabytes per second for sequential read and 3,550 megabytes per second write. Again, this is only going to be possible if you have a device that supports USB 4/Thunderbolt 4, including recent MacBooks, Dell XPS, and others. See our guide to the best laptops for more. Technically, just as I was wrapping up this update, Lacey's new rugged SSD came out which beat this drive in my tests by about 10 megabytes per second, but this drive is smaller, lighter, and cheaper. I also like that Corsair has included a MagSafe connector on the back of the case, which makes great option for backing up ProRes video footage from your iPhone. At number 4. Crucial X6 Portable SSD. These Crucial drives are my favorite general-purpose external storage drives. They're reasonably priced, for a portable SSD, and speedy enough for most uses. The X6 is lightweight and tiny, making it a good choice for working at the coffee shop. This isn't a blinding fast hard disk. In fact, under the hood, the X6 uses an older drive interface, serial attachment, or SATA, which was more common with spinning hard drives. So while it's small and light, its speed is limited by that older interface technology. In my testing on Windows and macOS, that works out to about 550 megabytes per second read speed and 208 megabytes per second write speed. That's good enough for backup and use as an external drive, but I don't recommend it for Xbox or PlayStation use. It does work fine with the iPad Pro though. The major downside is the plastic construction. It's a portable hard drive, not an indestructible hard drive. If you're worried about it breaking in your bag, grab a padded case. There are plenty out there, like this one. The Crucial X9, below, is a step up from the X6, both in terms of build quality, it's metal to the X6 plastic, and speed, but the X9 is considerably more expensive. At number 5. Crucial X9 Pro SSD. Crucial's X9 Pro hits the sweet spot of speed, portability, and price to be one of the best drives out there for photographers looking to make backups in the field. These drives are tiny, about half the size of a deck of cards, and weigh a mere 1.3 ounces, 38 grams. They'll connect to just about anything. I tested the X9 Pro on Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, and iOS and never hit any issues with any of them. When it comes to speed, the X9 Pro claims symmetrical read and write speeds, at 1050 megabytes per second. I actually consistently got higher speeds, up to 1110 megabytes per second for read and 1100 megabytes per second for write. That puts the X9 Pro at the top of the pack in terms of portable drive speed. I've been testing the X9 Pro for several months now, and while I can't yet speak to the long-term survival rate, I have been testing X6 and X8 drives from Crucial for over 2 years now without issue. There is also the X10 Pro drive, $165, which offers even faster speeds if you have a PC that supports USB 2x2. The latest Intel chips support this spec, but Apple does not, so there's no point in buying the X10 Pro if you have a Mac. I do not own a PC that supports USB 2x2 for extensive testing, but I did get a chance to at least try it, and the X10 Pro does indeed deliver on its promise of 2100 megabytes per second. I got it up to 2050 megabytes per second. If your hardware supports it, the X10 Pro is worth the extra money. At number 6. Seagate Ultra Compact SSD. Seagate's new Ultra Compact SSD straddles the line between USB thumb drive and traditional external drive. The size, design, and built-in USB-C connector make it a thumb drive, but the drive inside is much faster, offering 1000 megabytes per second throughput via USB 3.2 Gen 2, 10 gigabits per second. In my Crystal Disk Mark test, it managed 1034 megabytes per second and a write speed of 1018 megabytes per second, which, while not as fast as some of the new Thunderbolt 5 drives coming on the market, is still way faster than most USB sticks. In some ways, performance-wise, this is a more compact, down-market version of the X9 drive above. Lacey is Seagate's high-end, Mac-focused brand. You do get slightly less performance for the money, but the compact, no cable needed form factor might be worth it to some people. My one gripe with this drive is that it's on the wide side for a thumb drive, which means that if your laptop has USB-C ports close together it might cover too. You can mitigate this by ditching the rubber housing, but then you lose some of the protection. The drive with housing is rated to withstand 3-meter drops and is IP54 rated for dust and water resistance. Seagate's Ultra Compact SSD is one of several SSDs adopting the thumb drive form factor. We've also tested and liked the SK Hynix Tube 31, which is featured in our guide to the best USB flash drives. At number 7. OWC Envoy Pro Elektron SSD. If you need a drive that can stand up to life in a backpack or camera bag, get wet, or handle a drop onto hard surfaces, OWC drives are your best choice. It's tough to pick a winner here because there are many solid options, but OWC's Elektron drive narrowly beat others in benchmark tests. I also like that you can swap out the drive inside the aluminum casing. It's easy to unscrew, which means 2 years from now, you can pick up a faster bare SSD and drop it in the hardy Elektron enclosure. At number 8. Western Digital P40 Gaming Drive. Take this category with a grain of salt. Most of the drives here will work just fine for gaming, just stick with the fastest you can afford. That said, Western Digital's new P40 does have some cool RGB lights on the bottom if that's your jam. In my testing, that didn't seem to impact power consumption. As for speed, my tests were inconsistent. This drive is capable of speeds that handily beat both the Envoy Pro and Samsung T7, but at other times it seemed to bog down, at least in benchmarks. In real-world use, the bottleneck I consistently hit was some lag in transferring huge amounts of data. That might be a deal-breaker for some, but for the price, it remains a solid choice. At number 9. Samsung 990 Pro SSD Gen 4. If you want to put a bigger SSD in your laptop, all you need is a bare drive, which is generally cheaper than the drives with enclosures listed above. The first thing to figure out is which drive your PC uses. Consult your manufacturer's documentation to find out. These days the most common form factor is M.2 which is the long, thin drive in the image above. More compact laptops may use the similar, but shorter, M.2 2242 design. Again, check your PC to confirm the drive it needs before you buy. Of the dozens I've tried, Western Digital's WD Black series has stood out for speed, and it doesn't run very hot. The SN990 Pro SSD NVMe M.2 PCA Gen4 achieves speeds of 7,458 MB per second reads in my testing, more or less matching the claimed 7,450 MB/6,900 MB read/write speeds. If you're doing a lot of drive-intensive tasks, like editing video or gaming, this drive is well worth the money. The largest version you can get is 4 TB, and the price is reasonable considering the speed. There are faster drives, but you'll pay for them, and I find that currently, beyond this drive there is a diminishing return in the speed versus price curve. I've been using this one as my main drive for several months now, and it works great for editing 5.2K video footage and compiling software. My favorite part? It generates very little heat.